Hey, welcome back to the Astrology of Things. I'm your host and professional astrologer, Sheena. And in today's episode, I'm going to be continuing my Neptune through the Houses series. And today I'll be focusing on Neptune in the fourth house. So the time is now 7:09 p.m. and it is August 9th, 2022. So before I get started, I did just want to make a few general notes that this interpretation of Neptune in the fourth house can apply if Neptune is transiting your fourth house or if Neptune has entered your fourth house through solar arc and secondary progression. I also want to note that this is a general interpretation and that in order to get more nuanced and specific to how this placement pertains to you, you really have to get a good understanding of the house that Neptune represents in your natal chart, the dignity and debility that Neptune has in that particular zodiac sign that it's placed in, as well as any aspects that Neptune makes to other celestial bodies, so including the sun, moon, and all the other planets and asteroids. And also, before listening to this video, I recommend that you also take a listen and check out my other videos on Neptune, especially if you're not already familiar with the significations that are tied with Neptune. All right, so let's get into this. So before we can talk about Neptune in the fourth house, we first have to understand what the fourth house is. So the fourth house in a natal chart represents the area of our lives tied to our home, any fixed assets that we have, which includes physical land and real estate. It represents our father. It represents our mother-in-law or the mother of anyone who we've been in an intimate relationship with. This is also represents our foundational roots and our source of physical security. The fourth house is an angular house. So that means that any planets posited or transiting this house makes them more powerful and impactful in one's life and circumstances. And so angular houses in the natal chart are the first house, fourth house, seventh house, and 10th house. So when Neptune comes into the fourth house, Neptune's function is to create illusion, mysticism, spirituality, fantasy, imagery, symbolism, and reflections with the elements and circumstances that pertain to the fourth house. And so this can, of course, manifest in many, many ways, depending on Neptune's dignity and debility, depending on the aspects that Neptune's making to the other planets, depending on what house Neptune rules. So wherever you see Pisces in your natal chart, that would be the house that Neptune rules, even if Neptune is posited in the fourth house. All right, so since the fourth house represents land, real estate, the home, and its contents and or circumstances, when Neptune is posited here, the native may tend to fantasize a lot about the home that they live in or the land or real estate that they want to purchase, or they may even fantasize about the decorations or interior design elements that they want to add into the home. There's always some element of something missing, however, when Neptune is placed in the fourth house. So maybe this person feels like they're missing missing a home. Maybe they physically live in a home, but maybe they just have not felt a sense of being at home wherever they live. So overall, maybe this person doesn't like their home for one reason or another, which sparks their need to fantasize about the home and where they're living so that they can escape the reality of their current situation. Neptune in the fourth house could also represent someone who can create illusions with the physical land and space that, surrounds the house or is of the house, or the home, I should say. The native may be a great landscaper, for example, or, this person may be able to transform the space into something that it's not. In other words, they're able to visually trick people with some form or combinations of art. This could also reflect, or Neptune in the fourth house can also reflect a home and environment that helps the native and or the visitors to the native's house escape the physical world and its surroundings. So maybe when walking into this home, there's music playing, beautiful paintings and photography on the walls that help them escape into a different headspace. This home could also be a reflection back to the people who enter the home or spend time in that home. So in a way, people who enter feel that the home represents themselves or their own fantasies in some type of way. Neptune here in the fourth house could also represent a home that's very spiritual. That the home is very spiritually rich, and maybe even may have an eerie feeling or a paranormal feeling to the house. And this could also mean that the home itself is hidden from view. Maybe there's trees hiding the house, or maybe there's a tall fence that surrounds the entire house, which makes it really hard for, people driving by or walking by to see what the house looks like. And maybe even the home might not look like a home. So maybe the particular home looks like a storefront when it's actually, a place where the native lives. This could also represent a home or real estate that is surrounded or near some body of water, whether that's a lake, a river, an ocean. Maybe there's even a water tower on the land. Maybe the land that the home is on, or the real estate that the home is on, is swampy or retains a lot of water. So in other words, maybe the land floods a lot. And also could also represent a body of water that is underground, that is unique from the traditional like plumbing system. So maybe there's a literal well under the home. And additionally, wherever Neptune is placed, it's a great point of manifestation through imagery and fantasy. So a lot of magic can happen when it pertains to the home, the real estate, father, the mother-in-law. So, since the fourth house represents the father and the mother-in-law, Neptune placed here could signify an artistic, spiritual, or musical father and mother-in-law. It could also represent a father or mother-in-law who's passed away and the native has only heard stories about the father or the mother-in-law, or they've only seen pictures and video of their father or mother-in-law. And it can even point to a father who was absent or unknown to the native, and that creates a lot of fantasizing about who the father was or who the father could be, how, fantasizing about how, your relationship or the native's relationship with the father could have been if he was around. And also Neptune here could also point toward a father or mother-in-law who has some mysterious illness, or a father or mother-in-law who have had challenges with drug abuse. Now, in terms of derived houses, the fourth house is the 10th house from the 7th house. That's why we get the mother-in-law as representing the fourth house, but we also get the fourth house representing your partners or significant others' public image and persona, as well as their rewards and achievements and how they're recognized and what they're known for. So this could make for a significant other who is a musician or an artist, photographer, or someone who's able to create an illusion or fantasy through creative and artistic means. This could also represent a significant other who is spiritual or who works in a spiritual or occult field that deals with divination, such as a tarot card reader, astrologer, or palm reader, for example. And also, through derived houses, the fourth house is the 12th house from the 5th house. So look to the fourth house to see what your children may be keeping hidden from the world, or the secrets that they have. This house represents what has been underdeveloped in your children's character and personality, or parts of themselves that they haven't come to terms with, or parts of themselves that they haven't quite understood how to express in a proper and healthy manner. So maybe Neptune being placed in this fourth house could represent, a child who has spiritual beliefs behind doors, which is, at maybe opposition to the family's religious beliefs. Maybe the family's Catholic and they have a strong opposition toward tarot cards or astrology. And so the child has a hard time with coming to terms with their personal interests in this occult field. And so maybe the child keeps their spiritual release hidden, and they're essentially just afraid to come out of the spiritual closet. They might not have felt that it was appropriate. Maybe they didn't feel supported or don't feel supported in expressing this side of themselves. So that's just a general overview of Neptune in the fourth house.